I went on this journey when I was very young to understand why we do what we do. And as I was getting into personal development and starting to read books and learn, I was about 20, 21 years old. I saw Tony's TED Talk and he said, most people think I'm a motivator, but I'm the why guy. I want to know why you do what you do. And I'd never heard anybody say this before. And I was like, holy shit, this is the question I've been asking my whole life. Like, why do we do what we do? And I was like, I need to know everything this guy knows. And so I started studying his material and his books and his courses. And once I started to make some money and I had started to have some success in business, I went to his Unleash the Power Within course. And I had this unbelievable experience. Welcome to Entitled to Nothing, where we believe our life is our fault. My name is Mink, and I started this show because I've spent the last 20 years running headfirst into failure after failure, and I've learned how to turn my failures into lessons, and I've used those lessons to create life on my terms. I've started multiple businesses that have done over 50 million in sales, and I want to share everything I've learned on my journey to help inspire you on yours.
I won't waste another minute, no, I won't. I'm a man on a mission. I'm a man on a mission. I don't need no permission. I'm a man on a mission.
I paid Tony Robbins $109,000. And today I'm going to tell you the top 10 lessons I learned from joining his highest level coaching program. But before I dive in, I want to give you guys a little bit of a backstory of why I would do that, why I would spend so much money and join this man's program. Some of you, if you've heard earlier podcasts, you've heard me talk about the story where my mom said, Anthony, promise me two things. Promise me you'll never be like your dad, and promise me you'll never treat women the way that he treats me. If this is the first episode you've ever listened to, the long story short is my dad was a really abusive alcoholic, and it was very intense and chaotic growing up. So my mom asked me to make these two promises. And when she did, something really interesting happened. For the first time that I can remember, I started asking the question, why? Why does my dad do this? Why does he do that? Why does he say these things? Why does he act that way? It was that idea of why does he do what he does that really fueled me for a long time, because if I was to not do what my dad did, I had to understand what he was doing and why he was doing it. So my dad drank all the time. So for example, I've never drank. My dad was a victim always. He blamed everybody for his situations and all the failures. And so I take radical responsibility for mine. That's part of the reason why I started Entitled to Nothing. That's why I believe our life is our fault. So I went on this journey when I was very young to understand why we do what we do. And as I was getting into personal development and starting to read books and learn, I was about 20, 21 years old. I saw Tony's TED Talk and he said, most people think I'm a motivator, but I'm the why guy. I want to know why you do what you do. And I'd never heard anybody say this before. And I was like, holy shit, this is the question I've been asking my whole life. Like, why do we do what we do? And I was like, I need to know everything this guy knows. And so I started studying his material and his books and his courses. And once I started to make some money and I had started to have some success in business, I went to his Unleash the Power Within course. And I had this unbelievable experience. And there he talked about his program called Platinum Partnership. And Platinum Partnership is this year-long program. At the time, it was a $65,000 initiation fee. And then you had to pay for some additional conferences along the way. And when I factored it up, it was about $109,000 to do the year-long program. Now, I had a business and I was making some money, but at this time in 2013, I think I had maximum $50,000 in my savings. So this was double the money that I even had. And there was in my mind, it was like I had to do this, but there was no way I could afford to do it. So I decided to go to another one of his programs. And it was a few months later and the business was still growing and things were going well. And I decided to just take a leap of faith. I decided that, I'm going to put a down payment down. I think the deposit was like $15,000 or $20,000. And then I would just pay $5,000 a month for the next, year or whatever it was to participate in this program. And so when I joined, as I said, it was a leap of faith. This was more money than I'd ever spent on anything. I'm a college dropout. I didn't go spend this crazy amount of money on education. And this idea of spending six figures to go to a coaching program was something so far beyond my belief at that time. But I really felt a conviction after going through his material. I saw tangible results in my life after reading his books and doing certain things. So I just felt like this was someone that I really wanted to invest with and learn from. And so it's with that frame and that purview that I share two things with you guys. One, the biggest changes happen in our life before we're ready. And what I mean by that is I wasn't financially ready to make that level of a commitment. It was very uncomfortable. It was a massive stretch for me. And that's also one of the reasons why it had such a big impact on me. One of the things I know without a shadow of a doubt is growth and comfort do not coexist. They don't live together. And we're going to talk about this in one of the lessons that I learned from him. But oftentimes the greatest growth comes when we're not ready, when we stretch, when we push, when we take a leap of faith. And so as you read through this, I want you to think about as I read through this, I want you to think about how some of these can apply to your life, but also maybe where's an area of your life where you can take a leap of faith and try something different, something that you've never done before. All right, so let's dive in. The first lesson that I learned from Tony is something that has really transformed the entire way that I live my life. And it's this idea that life is happening for you, not to you. That is literally the operating system that I live my life by. That is the premise that this podcast, Entitled to Nothing, is created on. And I can tell you, when I really started to learn how to apply this idea to my life, and I started to look at every situation and circumstances, not as a failure or as an obstacle, or as a curse, but as something that was happening for me. Okay, if God is giving this to me, then there must be something here that I'm supposed to learn, or something that I can grow through, or a way that this moment is preparing me for something greater in the future. And I remember at one of the conferences I was at, Tony was doing an intervention with this young woman who had a really challenged relationship with her father. And that resonated very deeply with me because I did as well. And he said to her, if you would have had the father that you wanted, you wouldn't be the woman you're proud to be today. And I remember I got emotional when he said that, because I was like, yes, I wouldn't have the strength or the courage or the responsibility or the passion that I do if it wasn't for those experiences with my dad. In business, I wouldn't have the financial success if I hadn't had multiple failures and bankruptcies. So if there's one thing, if there's one primary lesson that I've taken away from Tony and I've applied to my life that has had the biggest impact, it is this idea that everything in life is happening for us, not to us. And that means there must be some type of gift in that moment, in that fear, in that doubt, in that failure, or in that loss. And so I think next time we go through a really difficult moment, when we're really struggling or feeling down, asking ourselves, how is this a gift? How is this happening for me? It can radically transform your ability to grow through that moment and see it not as a blessing, but not as a curse, but as a blessing. All right, lesson number 2 is the biggest problem you have is you think you shouldn't have them. And this really works very beautifully with the first lesson, because again, if we think we shouldn't have problems, if we're thinking that life should be easy and stuff should go our way, if it's the idea that we shouldn't have these problems, why do we have them? What's wrong with me? Why am I so, why do I create this behavior? What's wrong? That just sets ourselves up for failure. Because the simple truth is, problems are part of life. And it doesn't matter who we are or how much money, how much success, how good of a relationship. It doesn't matter what our situation is in life. We're all going to have obstacles, challenges, and things that we're going to have to solve, problems that we're going to need to work through. And for me in my life, when I stopped seeing problems as problems, but as happening for me and opportunities to grow, then things started to get easier. And I think, the best example for me is in business. Because business is so difficult. It doesn't matter whether you're just getting started or you've been in business for 20 years. I just talked to a buddy of mine today who is going through a really difficult business situation because there was a freak accident with one of his products that ended in a fatality. And so now he has to deal with insurances and product liability and all of these claims, and he sells sporting goods. What took place was genuinely a 1 in a million situation, and it might put him out of business. And he could see that as happening to him, or he could see it as happening for him. He could get upset because the problem exists, or he could just look at the problem as an opportunity to learn and grow. And so I think just know that life is fucking hard and you're gonna have problems, and another one is coming. A storm of some sort is always on the horizon. We don't want it to come, we don't wish for it, but we know that there's something that's gonna come. And so when it does, rather than seeing it as, oh my God, this big thing is happening, what if you just saw it as another opportunity to grow? Oh wow, look, I have a worthy opponent. I gotta figure out how to solve this problem. And here's the last thing that I'll say about problems. On the other side of them, you now have a greater level of intellect, strength, and capacity, because for every problem you solve, you now know how to solve it. And the more problems that we solve in life and in business, the greater capacity we have to learn, grow, and evolve. And I think that's what we all want in life. All right, number 3 is trade your expectations for appreciation. You know, we live in a world where there's so many expectations projected on us from parents, friends, family, and society as a whole. And I think the recipe for unhappiness is quite simply unmet expectations. And I'll tell you a very simple story. One time we were doing a product launch here at Live Bearded, and people were like, hey, Mink, what do you think we're gonna do? What do you think sales are gonna be tomorrow for the product launch? And so I gave a number. And I don't remember what the number is, so I'm gonna make it up. I'm gonna say, I think we're gonna do 150,000. And the day comes and we do the product launch, and it was a phenomenal product launch. But we didn't hit the $150,000 number, which was a huge stretch goal. I just flippantly threw that goal out there. But it set an expectation for my team that like, the CEO wants us to hit 150, so we have to hit 150. And so people felt a little down, even though the product launch was fantastic. And so as a leader, I learned a valuable lesson in that moment. A, I have to be careful what expectations I project onto the team. But B, what a beautiful lesson that you can have something that goes really well, but because you had an expectation that was unmet, you still see it as a loss or as something that should have gone better. And so I think if we can trade our expectations for just an appreciation for the opportunities that we have, for the life that we've been given, for the friends or the relationships, right? If we have this expectation that a relationship is going to go a certain way and it doesn't, we could rather appreciate that versus get frustrated by it. So in life, next time you see yourself getting frustrated or upset about an unmet expectation, I would challenge you to find a way to find appreciation for that experience and use it so you can move forward in a greater state. All right, number 4 is you get what you tolerate in life. I love this concept. I heard it directly from Tony, and he's like, everything in life comes down to your standards. You get what you tolerate. You are as healthy as you tolerate being. You are as wealthy as you tolerate being. You have the type of relationships, you experience the life that you tolerate. And so this is sometimes a hard pill to swallow because it makes us go to the mirror and take radical responsibility for where we're at. And if our life is a reflection of what we are tolerating, then ultimately we are the cause of the life that we're living. And again, this is the whole ethos of Entitled to Nothing. Your life is your fault. And it is that way because what you tolerate from yourself, the standards that you have, the actions that you take, the character traits that you possess, the beliefs that you have about who you are and what you deserve, that's determining your life. And so you get what you tolerate. And if you don't like your environment or your circumstances, that should give you a sense of relief because it means that you have the power to change it. And it's not going to happen at once. It's going to not take place overnight. But if you commit to raising your standards of what you tolerate for yourself, and you commit to constant and never-ending improvement, which coincidentally is one of the other principles we're going to talk about, you can rewrite your story and you can create a new version of yourself. But you've got to stop tolerating what you have and start striving for something greater. And that all starts with our standards. Okay, lesson number 5 is you don't live the life that you have, you live the life that you focus on. And I remember the first time I heard it, I didn't quite understand it. And I needed to really consume this idea. And it comes down to this, right? We could have an amazing life. We could have a great relationship. We could have a beautiful family. We could have a good career. But if all we're focusing on is what we're missing or what we don't have, then the life that we are living is not the one that we have, but what we're focusing on. And so, one of the things it's remarkable, it's beautiful, and it's a curse sometimes about humans is we are meaning-making machines. And we're constantly assigning meaning to everything all of the time. And if we don't bring conscious awareness to the meanings that we're giving, oftentimes we automatically give meanings to things that are disempowering or that hold us back. They could be discouraging. And so remember this, next time and this really goes very good with if you trade your expectations for appreciation, right? You have a new life. If you are sitting in a situation where you're focusing on the wrong things, right? Starting to focus on what you can appreciate in that moment is going to help shift where you're at. But quite simply, oftentimes we just get so fixated on a loss or what's going wrong or the promotion that we didn't get or insert whatever it is that we lose sight of all of the progress that we've made, all of the great things that we have. And so we've got to focus on what we want, and focus equals feeling. So we're feeling what we're focusing on. And that's another good way to bring awareness to what you're focusing on is how you're feeling, right? If you've got a beautiful wife or kids or family and you're focusing on how beautiful they are, you're probably going to feel pretty fucking good. But if in that same moment you didn't get the promotion that you want and you're pissed because someone else got it and you feel like you deserve it and you're like, man, fuck that guy who got the promotion, I deserve that shit. Well, now you're focusing on lack instead of the opposite. So you don't live the life that you have, you live the life that you focus on. All right, number 6, this next one really changed the way that I approach life. And it's this idea that the quality of our life is in direct proportion to the amount of uncertainty that we can comfortably live with. And again, the first time I heard this, I was like, wait, you got to say that again. What does that mean? And to make it really simple, success and growth don't exist or don't coexist with comfort. Like I said in the beginning, the only way that we grow, the only way that we learn, evolve, that we create something that we've never done before is by doing something that we've never done. And typically, the first time we do something, not only is it the worst time, but it stretches us beyond what we're capable of doing. It pushes us outside of our comfort zone. There's uncertainty, there's unknown, right? And so how comfortable can we be being uncomfortable? I was watching this video a while back of Elon Musk, and he was talking about what it takes to be very, very successful at business. And he was saying that most people can't become extremely successful in business because they don't have the capacity to carry the uncertainty and the stress. And so if we can understand that the quality of our life, the quality of the business or the relationship or the career, the level that we can reach in life, that level is going to be directly proportionate to the amount of uncertainty or discomfort or growth that we are able to take on. And so if you're constantly focused on being comfortable, or if you have a really hard time being uncertain, that's going to put a governor on how much you can grow. Because again, all the growth, all the quality of life is built by uncertainty and moving through it and growing beyond it, right? You've got to go beyond where you have been in order to get to the next level. So when you're feeling stressed, when you're feeling pushed outside of your comfort zone, just know that that's a signal that you're growing. And growth is going to increase the quality of your life. And I think that's what we all want. We want to live life on our terms by our design. And the only way we're going to get there is by being able to be uncomfortable or get comfortable being uncomfortable. Number 7, we touched on this one already. It's this idea of constant and never-ending improvement. And I'll never forget, I don't remember what the name of the conference was, but I was sitting at a Tony conference, and this dude's up on stage and he's talking about constant and never-ending improvement. And he's like, the man that you see in front of you, I built this motherfucker. I didn't start out as Tony Robbins. I wasn't born this man or this leader or with this skill set. I intentionally built him. And you know what I love about this is we have the capacity to create whatever skills we want to have, to develop whatever character traits we want to possess. And we can condition or create whatever beliefs we want to have about ourselves and about life. No different than you go to the gym and you build a bicep, right? If I was to say, okay, I want to build my bicep and I just sit here and I do air curls, right? Probably not going to get very strong. But if I go to the gym every day and I lift incredible weight and I stress and I strain and I tear and I fatigue, I'm going to build this muscle. And we can build our body and build our mind and build our character in the exact same way. If you are willing to commit to constant and never-ending improvement, if you can have that ultimate growth mindset and identify what skills do you want, what character traits do you want, what do you want to believe about life and your potential, and you can really commit to get better every day, you can build yourself into whoever you want. And again, this is why I know your life, my life, it's our fault. So if you don't have something that you want in life, it just means you need to get better. Commit to the growth that's required to get there, and you will. Number 8, quite simply, is decisions shape destiny. And I love this idea because it says the decisions that we make today are going to shape our tomorrow. And every day, the actions that we take, the decisions that we make, the things that we put into motion are growing who we are and what we're going to experience tomorrow. And I think there's no greater responsibility that we could take in life than responsibility for the decisions that we make. And understanding that the decisions that I make today are going to influence my tomorrow. And if you know that, if you believe that, if you bring awareness to that, you can start to be more intentional with the decisions that you make. And I think it's that intentionality that really gives us the capacity to become the controller or the captain of our experience of life. You know, one of the things I've come to believe is maybe one of the most important things we do is sit down and intentionally decide what type of life we want to live. What type of relationships do we want to have? What type of career do we want to have? How do we want to spend our time? Health, fitness, etc., etc. That all starts with a decision. And everything that you've experienced, good and bad, in some way started with a decision. A decision to start the company, a decision to say something to the girl or not say something, a decision to ask her out or not ask her out, a decision to take that leap or not take it, right? The decisions that we make, they shape our destiny. And so we need to bring awareness to them. And sometimes we just need to fear less and go be bold and do the things that we in our heart want to do. And if you can do that, you can create the life that you want. All right, number 9 is the 6 human needs. Now, this is one of Tony's frameworks, and quite simply, he says all of human behavior is driven by 6 human needs. The first need is the need for certainty. We need to know what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. We need to have some stability in life. We need certainty. Number 2 is variety, right? If we knew what was going to happen, when it was going to happen, how it was going to happen every day, we would be bored out of our fucking minds. So God, in his infinite wisdom, gave us the need for variety. And all of that is different to us. My favorite variety is travel. It's the one thing that lights me up. Maybe yours is a new restaurant. Maybe you're a foodie, or maybe it is a new marathon, or it's learning a new skill, right? We all have this need for variety. How we satisfy it is totally different, but we all have to have some level of it. The third need is the need for significance. In all of us is this need to feel like our life is significant and that we are important to somebody or to circumstances or to situations, that we can be important. And if you're striving for significance, a lot of times that comes across as arrogant or looking for attention, right? But if you can be someone that does significant things, then maybe you can be a great contributor to society. So we meet these needs again in different ways. Some people are on social media, flashing body parts and shaking asses and doing whatever they can, showing off their fancy cars to try to get significance, while other people are donating their time or their resource, or they're doing charity work. Each of us have a way that we engage that makes us feel significant. And that's a beautiful thing. We just got to figure out how to meet that need for significance in a productive and beautiful way. The fourth need is the need for love and connection. And the truth is, most people settle for connection because love is too uncertain, right? It's scary, it's unknown, and it's heartbreaking at times. But we all need to feel connected to each other. As humans, we're a species built on relationships. So we need to feel that connection. We need the love and the community, and we need to be connected. So again, we do that in different ways, in different times, through different communities, but we all have a need for love and connection. Number 5 is the need for growth, right? If we can meet the first 4 needs and we can have certainty that things are going to be a certain way, if we can have the variety that we enjoy, if we can feel some level of significance through what we're doing and how we're living our life, and then we can have that connection and love, if we can meet those first 4 needs, then we have the capacity to meet our 5th need, which is the growth and the elevation of spirit. I think God put us here to grow. He put us here to learn and evolve, and He gives us those challenges and problems that we've talked about so that we can grow and become a greater expression of self. And then the 6th and final need is the need for contribution. If we can meet the first 5 needs, then the need of the Spirit, that final beautiful need that God gave us, is the need to contribute beyond ourselves, to serve and to love and to give and to positively impact those around us in some ways. And what's beautiful is every single one of us need to meet these same 6 needs, but we all meet them in different ways. And the way that we meet them starts to make up who we are, our personalities and the interests and the hobbies and the perspectives that we have. And so once you understand these 6 human needs, you can really start to understand who and how certain people behave. And so again, for myself, I started a business because uncertainty didn't scare me, and I needed the certainty to know that I could live my life my way. And then once I got the certainty that I could make some money and I could create a certain lifestyle, I started seeking variety in the form of travel and new experiences. So there's a simple example for you, but all of us do this. And if you can bring awareness to how you're meeting these needs, then ultimately you can start to rearrange them. Because that's also one thing that's really important to understand. We typically all have 1 or 2 needs that we put above all the rest. And so, for example, if your need for certainty is at the top of the list, it's the most important, how do you think that affects other things like relationships or growth? How often have you had certain relationships? How often have you known that, she's going to love me no matter what I do? Probably not very often. How often have you had certain growth? Well, we've already talked and agreed that growth and comfort, growth and certainty don't coexist, right? So if you have to be certain about everything, well, then that's going to really impact things that you can do in your life, relationships that you can have, experiences that you can have. And adversely, if you're driven by variety at all costs, that might cause you the same relationship drama, because maybe you'll never commit, or you'll always be looking for the next best thing. Maybe you'll always be jumping from career to career to career. What's so beautiful is when you understand these 6 needs and you really get them, they're a mirror. And they show us who we are, and they show us how we've prioritized things. And then you can start to do the reflection and connect the dots. And based on that, you can start to rewrite who you are and how you show up. And there's nothing more powerful than that, to get that mirror, that perspective on ourselves, and to use that to evolve and grow to the next level. All right, the 10th and final lesson I want to share with you guys today that's had a massive impact on my life is this idea that all of our emotions, the way that we feel, is created by three things. It's created by our physiology, our body and how we're using it. It's created by our focus, what we're focusing on, and our language, the words that we're using. You see, how you feel in any moment, the energy, the passion, the excitement, or the depression, your emotional state in any moment is being unconsciously created by these three things: your body, your focus, and your language. And if that's the truth, if we can say, okay, let's say that's true, then what that means is when you're feeling down or depressed or sad, let's say, your body's gonna have a certain energetic expression. So let's do an experiment together. If you've ever talked to someone who's depressed or maybe feeling suicidal, how are they using their body? Are their shoulders back and are they breathing deep and strong? Or are they slouched? Are they hunched over? Are they speaking softly and without any enthusiasm? Right? There's a pattern of physiology that determine that we can witness and make assumptions about how somebody's feeling. Okay. So if we can listen to, or if we can watch someone and judge how they're feeling based on their body language, which I think you and I would both agree that you can do that, then that passes the smell test, right? That makes sense. Okay, cool. Focus. Well, we've already established if you're focusing on all the shit that's going wrong, you're going to be pretty fucking upset. But if you're focusing on all the great shit that's going right, you're probably going to have a different emotional state. And then finally, if I'm talking to you and I say, you know what, this is fucking bullshit. I have to do this and this sucks and I wish that was different. Probably a different emotional state than I say, you know what, I get to do it every day. I get to wake up and go do this because I enjoy it and it's difficult and it's tough, but I'm going to grow through it and I'm going to figure this out. And the words that we use are indicators of where we're at and how we're feeling. And what really changed for me is when I was able to understand that how I use my body influences it. What I focus on influences it. And the words and the language that I'm using influence it. And if I can change or bring awareness to all of those things, then I can change the way that I feel in a moment. And I'll tell you a silly example that happens to me often. You know, I work a lot. I push myself hard. Oftentimes I wake up at 4 a.m. and I'm fucking tired and my body hurts. And the instant response is, fuck, today's gonna be rough. And immediately, when those words come out of my mouth and I realize it, I automatically change it. You know what? Today's gonna be a great fucking day. And it's gonna be great because I am tired and I am sore and I am going to have a long day. My schedule is packed, but that means that I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna bring the best of myself and I'm gonna make sure that I sit up straight in every meeting and I'm gonna be intent and I'm gonna be focused and I'm gonna manage what I'm feeling. And if you can do those things in any moment, you can change the way that you're feeling. And so the key is to bring awareness to when you're not on your A game, when you're not feeling your best. And sometimes this may take minutes, it may take hours, and there's times where things happen in our lives that it may take days or weeks. And I want you to know that's okay. The goal is to just try to move through it as fast as you can. And like going to the gym and building that muscle, the more that you use your body, your language, and your focus, the more of a skill it becomes, the stronger that muscle becomes, and then the more control you have over how you feel. And at the end of the day, our focus equals feeling, and feeling equals our experience of life, right? Again, we don't live the life that we have, we live the life that we focus on, and focus creates feelings. So really what that means is the quality of our life is based on the quality of our emotions. And if we're living in a positive emotional state, then we're living a great life. And if we find ourselves in a negative emotional state, well, then life isn't so great. But if our life is our fault, that means we have to have the tools and the capacity to change that. And with these three things, which Tony calls the triad, physiology, focus, and language, you have a tool that you can use to change the way that you're feeling. And I can tell you, I've used it quite a bit in my life, and it's helped me over and over and over again. So I wanted to share these 10 lessons with you because I can honestly say that by going through Tony's material, by learning these lessons from him, and by applying them to my life, I have created life on my terms in large part because of the tools and the changes in focus or the reframes in psychology that he has given me. And my number one goal in life is to share everything I've learned on my journey to help you on yours. Like, no one gets out of this life alive. It's hard, it's difficult, it's painful. And ultimately, I believe that we are going through this human experience together. And maybe one of the greatest things we can do is share our learnings and our experiences with each other so that we can learn and grow together and hopefully not have to struggle through some of the same pains. If I've solved a problem in my life and I can share how to solve it in yours, then automatically you don't have to go through the same challenge or frustration that I did. And that's one of the reasons why I started Entitled to Nothing in the first place. My mission is very simply, I want to inspire you to take radical responsibility for your life, to do the work required to reflect on what's holding you back and what's stopping you and where are your fears and doubts and where are those things that are causing you to not experience the life that you want. And if you can dig in and do the reflection and figure out what those are and start to apply some of these principles, well, then we can create the life that we want. We can live life on our terms. And again, I think that's what we are put here to do. I think we are put here to live our life our way and to grow through that process and become the man that we are born to be, or woman, if you're a woman out there listening. So with that said, I truly appreciate you guys listening to this. Let me know, reach out to me, drop me a comment on YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube, and let me know which one of these lessons you think will have the biggest impact on your life. And also, the only thing I would ever ask from you guys with this podcast is to share it with someone that you think needs to hear it. If you've got someone in your life that's going through a tough time or that's just struggling right now, and you think one of these lessons will help them, please share it with them. But with that said, I'll see you guys on the next one. Talk to you soon.